white pieces. This is going to be a very exciting battle. 3 minutes plus 2 seconds increment. Magnus opens with e4. We have the Sicilian. Knight comes out. e6 played. Will Magnus go for the open Sicilian? Will he go for c3? It's also possible. You put your knight on c3. Also possible. But Magnus pausing here. He's taking his time. He's not making his moves quickly. Maybe he's thinking about something else. What exactly does he want to do? Wow. He goes bishop d3. What a rare move he's played. He puts his bishop in front of the pawn, blocking his bishop. Knight comes out, quickly castles. Maybe Magnus wants to play c3, bishop c2 and d4 in the center. But this is not a very often played move. You can see Narayanan now in thought. Maybe he knows this position. Maybe he's already out of prep. What can he do here? A normal move would be, let's say, d5 perhaps, a6, knight f6 or knight e7. These are the possible moves that he can make. But look at the time that he's investing. And he plays g5. Wow. Bishop b5, g4. Wow, I think both players were prepared. They knew this, but they were just thinking whether to go here or not. And now look at these pawns. They have expanded, and Narayanan is like, Magnus, you might be the GOAT. You might be the world #1, but I'm not afraid of you. I'm going all out against you. Oh, these pawns look a bit menacing for sure. Knight comes out to f6. Brings his knight, attacks the pawn here. You can't push it because knight takes pawn. So Magnus plays d3, a slightly passive move, but opens up the bishop to go to g5. The knight will come out, and hopefully someday you can break with f3, activating the rook down the f file. Pawn push to d5, very strong move in the center, played here by Narayanan. Queen to e2, bishop comes out to e7. Do you want to push your pawn to e5? That looks like a plan here. Just push the pawn, push the knight away. That's possible. But will Magnus go for it? He's actually assessing this position in his head. He decides against it. He goes bishop g5, pinning the knight here. Maybe some ideas of take, e takes d5. The queen is looking at the king there. It's possible to play that way. Narayanan goes rook g8, attacking the bishop here. And now bishop h4 could be possible. You can also take the knight, but Magnus fights the best move, f4, defending the bishop. If you take en passant, I take with the knight, defending the bishop. This is why Magnus is a genius. You know, in just 10 moves, he's got a very, very nice position from a completely offbeat opening. His understanding is very powerful. Now you have this pin here. It's an uncomfortable position for sure. How to deal with it? Because this threat of taking and ed5 exists. The pawn push is coming ahead. There could also be a pawn push with f5. So many problems. So Narayanan takes on e4 and Magnus wants to recapture but pauses. And he's thinking whether to take on e4 or not in this position. He is trying to debate. He takes on c6 first. Pawn takes c6 and now takes on e4. And look at this structure. White has an amazing structure. Black structure is mangled. But you want to activate the bishop. He goes c4. Now the thing is, if you take here, there's queen b6 check. And then it's over, because after here, you have bishop a6 and you lose material. So Magnus quietly gets his knight out, attacks the pawn. You don't want to give up this bishop because then this pin becomes super nasty. So queen b6 check, king goes to h1. And now Narayanan may want to defend this pawn with bishop a6. That could be an idea here. He's thinking, he's actually okay with giving up this pawn. He goes bishop a6. And Magnus maybe doesn't want to take it here. Because if you take, bishop takes, queen takes, it's possible. But he just activates this bishop. Right now the bishop is looking at the pawn. So he brings his rook into the center of the board, presses it. 1 minute 30 seconds for Magnus. 1 minute for Narayanan. You can see Narayanan looking at the clock and getting a little bit alert there. b2 is hanging now. Or is it? That's the question. Knight ec2 would be an amazing move, because take rook b1 and you lose the rook over there. So will Magnus go knight ec2 here, or does he do something else? He decides to chop off the pawn. Knight takes c4. Now the best move is to take, queen takes, and queen b5. Offer a trade where the queens have to be traded, otherwise the rook on f1 would be hanging. And yes, you're a pawn down. Not a pleasant feeling against Magnus, but that's the best you can do here. Narayanan goes queen c5. He attacks the knight. Pawn defends it. Takes. Pawn takes. Now white structure is a bit mangled. But the main problem for black is his king. It's weak and the threats are e5, knight d3. All sorts of threats in the position. Narayanan goes knight d7. And now the best move is knight to d3, attacking the queen. Let's say the queen moves here. And then maybe just knight b4 or take on e7. White is completely better. But let's see what Magnus does here. He has 1 minute on the clock. He's thinking. And maybe he's dabbling about taking here. Knight to d3 is the best move. And he's about to make a move. Whoa! He sacrifices his rook. A blunder. A huge mistake by Magnus. Narayanan is back. Knight d3. Very important to play queen a3, but he blunders. Knight e5 check. Wow, Narayanan didn't even use his time. He had 25 seconds there. That's insane. That's a huge mistake. If he goes king c7, he loses the bishop. If he plays his king to e8, I take on e7, king e7. And now knight c6 is a mega fork here, and he resigns.